sprayed this down, but you know, it's got all these runs and stuff, and I should have wiped it down so it wouldn't do that. See all this? You can see all these. So I sanded this part smooth, but it's still got rust underneath there, right? So what I'm gonna do is sand it. I'm just gonna have to sand it because it had rough spots in it anyway from the rust. So I'm gonna sand it. You can see right here how rough that is. See, I don't want to paint over that really, but sand it, and then I'm gonna take a rag and I'm gonna wipe this on and make it smooth. Wipe that rust preventer on it, and then that way it'll be a smoother finish, and it'll look better. But I mean, like I said, we're not going for a great paint job. We're just want it to look halfway decent, you know, from about 20 feet away. It's a 20-footer, and I know all this looks rough, and it is, but the metal is rough because some of it's got pits and stuff in it, but that's fine. It's okay. It's gonna look cool when we get done with it. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So I'm using 150 grit, which is probably not going to work. I'm probably have to go real coarse. So this is 60 grit, so I'm going to use it. All right, we cleaned a little bit of it up on the roof, but what I'm doing here is I'd kind of like to get all this red oxide primer off here. This is red oxide primer. I mean, it's holding, it's on there, but I'd like to get it off and not kind of start from scratch. But and then this, you know, I don't know if that's gonna come off, but I've got a scientific experiment going on. This is distilled white vinegar. I don't know how long that'll take. And that's lacquer thinner. That probably won't take near as long. So I'm gonna leave that there for a little while and see what happens, see if it does anything. It may not budge it. It's pretty, that stuff's pretty on there. It'll sand off. I can sand it off. And that may be what I have to just keep doing, but it goes through sanding discs pretty quick when you do that because it gums it up. But I cleaned this off some. Right here, I gotta wipe it down some more. But, yeah, it's working. I think it's working. All right, guys, I got something here I want to show y'all. So, I still got some cleaning to do, but you see you got these little pinholes, like right there. You know, and there's some right there. Whoop. Some right there. And then I think there's some up under here. There's one right there. Now you could weld those. You could braze them. You could put some brazing rod in there and do some brazing, and I'm gonna do some of that and show you. Also, if you don't know how to weld or braze, and you know, you just don't have, you know, you're in a rush or something, whatever the situation may be, this right here is multi-purpose panel adhesive. Now you can use this, and you can fill these holes right here, and you can let it dry in these little pinholes. You can let it dry, and then you can sand it down smooth, and that will work too. It's probably not the preferred method, but if you need to do it that way, you can. Like on these small holes like this, a lot of times when you weld these, the metal's thin and it'll keep blowing out. The metal will keep blowing out, and you'll get, the hole will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it gets frustrating sometimes because you try to be real careful. You got to use real thin wire, like 025 wire, and turn the heat down. And you can do a pretty good job of it, but sometimes it still blows out because it's so thin. You have to really clean the metal up good and get it back down to bare metal. But if you don't want to do all that, if you don't want to take the chance of it blowing out or whatever, or you just don't have the ability to do it, you can use that. That stuff won't come off if you prep this good and sand it, get some like 60 grit or 40 grit and sand it really good. Get a really good tooth on the metal and smear some of that on there. Then it will work. It will hold, and you know, you don't get no water in there or nothing. So it does a good job. These are expensive. All this setup here is over $100, probably $100, maybe close to $200 for this. I don't know exactly the price on them. I hadn't gotten it. I've had this for a little while, and so I'm not sure if it's still good. I hope it is, because it's expensive. But I got these tips on Amazon. You can get these tips on Amazon real cheap by the bag. And once you use these, once you start using it, you have to keep using the tip. If you use this, you know, this thing mixes the material. It's two-part, and it mixes all the way to the end. And once it comes out the end, it's mixed. But this tip is no good once you use it one time. So you have to use as much, you got to do as much as you get it all prepped and ready, and do as much as you can with it, because, you know, once it dries inside this tip, it's no good. But once it dries inside, once you're done with all the things you got to do, leave this tip on there, tighten it down, make sure it's tight, leave it on there till the next time you use it, and it won't dry, it won't cause anything to dry up. Hopefully it'll save what you got left, and then you can take it off and put a new tip on and use it. But that's an inexpensive way, believe it or not. That's a lot cheaper. You know, this goes further than you think, and it's a whole lot cheaper. You can do places like that, put some of that stuff in there and then let it dry and smooth it out. You know, little cracks like this, you might want to, we'll have to pinch those back together, you know. But they use that panel bond material stuff on, you know, in body shops and stuff. So that's it, you know, if you do it right, prep it right, it'll work. That stuff holds. So it's designed to adhere metal to metal, so, you know, metal parts to metal parts. So but you got to prep it good. You got to clean it, and you got to get it good sanded and prepped and cleaned and everything, and then it'll work. So I'll show you. We'll do some brazing on this thing too. I got to get some more oxygen in order to do that. I'm running out of oxygen, so for my torch, but we'll show you some of that brazing too. So we're going to try something, guys. I've got propane or mount gas. It's that hole. We're going to try and fill it. It's Harris Safety Seal 45 flux coated. Going. You don't want to heat the metal too much because you'll warp the metal. I am no expert at this, so we're just kind of seeing what we can do. Don't know if that's going to work. I think I need a regular acetylene torch in order to get it hot enough quicker. It just needs to get real hot, because that steel, it needs, you know, that steel needs to get hot. Maybe this mount gas ain't quite hot enough or something. Maybe they need to change to something else. I got propane now. Let's see what that does, see if that gets any hotter. It ain't pretty, but I'm gonna let it cool and sand it and see what it looks like. So that's pretty good. I think that'll work. I think that'll work. And I can do that one, maybe that one. The overhead stuff, I'm not good enough. I don't think I can do those because it's just gonna fall out if I do them that way. And I don't want to turn this thing upside down. I don't really have a rotisserie or nothing, so, but that's okay. I can smear some of this stuff in there or maybe weld it, but that just goes to show you, even if you don't have a welder and you have the right material, you can do that. My compressor's going off right now. There it goes. So you can get this thing from Harris. That is a brazing guide, and it's, if you've got, like what we did, this is copper or brass to steel or stainless. Well, we just did steel. We just covered a hole on some steel. So we'll go to steel or stainless to steel or stainless. We'll just say that. And it'll tell you right here what materials to use. What filler metal. Stuff requires it to be pretty hot, which is good because it's strong. And it tells you all the materials right there, and then what fluxes and all to use. If you have flux coated rod, you don't need, it's got flux on it, so you don't really need it, but if you don't have flux coated, then you have to use flux with it. But brazing, they used a lot of brazing back in the day, back in like the 60s and stuff, and they brazed some of the parts onto cars that way. They were, guys back then obviously were very good at it because they had to do it at some point on the assembly line. So anyway, that just shows you, you know, you don't have to have a welder to do it. You can go online on YouTube, you know, find people out there are professionals at it, and they can show you how to do it really well. But that, I just, you know, steel is a little more forgiving than some other metals. You can do aluminum and copper and brass and all kinds of stuff, but the softer the material, obviously, the more careful you have to be because it'll just melt it. Steel, it's not so bad because it's so hard to melt steel. It's almost, well, at home you can with a torch, but with that little trigger torch, you can't melt it. So, but I'm going to do that one too. So I think I got it. I think that's just a low, that little one right there. I think that's just a low spot. That's not a hole. But I think I got the hole. So we're good there. So yeah. So that'll hold up. It's better than most things. I mean, it's not like it's going to pop out very easily. I don't think it's got 45% silver, which means it's super strong. You know, they make it higher, but and I think I'm going to do some more of that on some other areas that I might can, you know, get to easier than welding. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Some of those are too big to do, but that stuff will cover a pretty big hole actually. So anyway, yeah. So it's a little bit of, it takes some time, but like I said, I'm not gonna make this thing, I'm not gonna fix any dents in it. I just want to plug the holes so it don't keep rusting out. There's some small dents up here. There's a dent right there. You can barely see that one. Yeah, I'm not gonna mess with the dents. I am going to fix this side right here, and I'm going to fix all those holes. And so anyway, this side ain't too bad. I might can just fix the bottom of it, but the inside panel is rotted out, so I got to fix that. But yeah, that's that, and we'll continue. So it just came a rainstorm, but that's good. We need rain. So I made measurements, wrote down measurements from another truck, and I measured from there to there and there to there. Made the measurements. I think that's where I'm gonna have to cut it. This one I'm gonna cut on that line I had before, right in front of that. So yeah, it's gonna be tricky. I'll cut that, and then I'll cut this and try and marry the two together. Hey, Scooter. What's up, bud? What you doing? Do I like to be petted? All right. Well, no turning back now. Got the front of this thing cut off. Started cutting this. I gotta finish cutting that. And then I gotta marry the two together. See how all that goes. All right. Got it cut. I'm gonna measure the width of this and then the width of that, and determine where it's gonna center. And I'm gonna put it on these stands here so I can get it up higher. Even with where it needs to be. And then we'll go from there, I guess. What I'm gonna have to do, so I have to cut it there, cut a groove in it so it'll slide. Well, actually, yeah, I have to cut a groove in it where it'll slide on here, and then I'll have to cut a wedge out and take this outer one and bend it in and weld it. That's the way it's gonna have to go in order for it to line up. Okay, I got some marks, I got some cuts, and I got the bottoms cut off so I can slide in there. And if I need to cut, I got some relief cuts, and I've got to get it the back of it up level. I'm gonna jack it up a little bit, try and get some of that, get it leveled out. So you see how much wider. It's got to go up some, so it's going to come in more, but I've got to cut, obviously I got to cut some more off of it, but it's probably not the best front end to use on this truck. It's narrow, it's real narrow in the front, but it's got to go up about 8 inches into there, so it's gonna meet a little better up further up. But I got to cut some more off of it in order to do that. Okay, so still got a lot left to do. I got to still measure some more stuff. I've got to cut some more of this and bend that in, and on the inside I've got to do some more cutting and bending, but preliminary I got a level on here and it's pretty close. It's almost perfect there. So I just shim it a little bit on this side. But again, I've got a whole lot more left to do. More measuring, just taking it slow. Don't want to rush the process, because you just don't, you know, you can weld metal back on. That's not a problem, but you don't want to weld until you get it exactly where it has to be. If you start doing that, if you start welding stuff, then you're going to end up messing yourself up. You're going to have to cut stuff back off. It's just going to be a big pain. So yeah, it's getting closer. It's getting closer. But you can see right there how there's a gap right there. So this side needs to come up just a skosh, just a little bit to make it level. But yeah, I mean, I'm digging it. We'll keep moving forward on it, and hopefully get this thing on there and weld it on in a few more days. Stay tuned. So I got the cab on the inside of the shop so I can work on it in the rain, because it's been raining and storming. I use this strap to get it up on there with a tractor. It's sitting up high in the back because there's something on the bottom of it I gotta remove and get out of there to make it go down some. But I can now work on it in here and get all the panels and everything in it and sand it and stuff, so I can roll it around over to my welder and everything. So that's a good thing now, and we'll keep on. So I've wiped this thing down several times. I've sanded it on most of the outside of it. I wiped it down with the anti-rust stuff, and it turned it dark. You know, it didn't turn it black, but like it normally does, but it turned it dark. I've sanded it a couple times and put that stuff on it, wiped it down, and then I wiped it back down again with mineral spirits or wax and grease remover, trying to clean it up a little bit. So I think it's pretty good on the outside on most of it. I haven't done the rockers and inside the door jamb. I've only got most of the outside, so I'm actually going to spray some epoxy primer on it, on what I got, and only on the parts that I've already prepped, and I've got some red oxide primer. I'm gonna try to use the stuff that I already have instead of going and buying a bunch of stuff, to try and save some money on this, because the bills can pile up real quick if you ain't careful. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, is I'm going to spray it with the outside of it with the primer that I have already. All right, I got some of that done. Took too long because my gun isn't working. I cleaned it out. Hopefully it'll work better. I'm gonna clean the front of this up here, the firewall, clean it up some and paint it, or primer it. And then later on we'll get to the inside and start working our way in. I had enough left in my cup to be able to do half of it, or part of it. And I got enough to do this and some more on the inside here. Probably enough to do the dash and maybe this back part here. But I got to get all that cleaned up. I got to do the jams and all. But all that has to be cleaned up again, and it doesn't take long in this heat for this stuff to dry. It's already dry. So, but I'm not going to do anything else to it. I'm not going to do any real body work or fix, putty. I'm not going to do any of that, puttying and all that. I am going to fill this hole. I'm going to weld that up. And I am going to, obviously fix all the holes. This helps me find them easier. There's some more right there. And over here, little pinholes here and there. I'm going to try and fix all that. I am going to fix all that. And I'm going to fix this side here. It's real bad, and obviously the rest, but yeah, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get it a good solid cab. Yeah, it's gonna have dents. I don't care. It's a budget build, so I think it'll be just fine when I get done with it. So that's all we're doing for tonight. As you can see, it's night, and I'm gonna go in and relax, and see y'all next time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button. It's free. Don't cost you nothing. Subscribe, like, hit the like. Appreciate it. And hats are coming soon.